Hello friends, we are here with Alien to do the first of its kind video, which is a game review for a competitive game that we've played with Lars Club. And it's the second preseason game for Season 2. We chose this game simply because it happened literally a couple of hours ago and we wanted to make this video.
Yeah, and it was a wild game with a lot of really fun moments, so we figured this was a good one to walk through step by step and show you some memorable clips from it, as well as just give some thoughts on, how we think the game went.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And also we want to boast of this wonderful widget that we have here that keeps track of a lot of the stuff that happens in game, which we're going to be extensively using, and we're going to showcase some of the features that you haven't seen before. So we're currently in God mode, we can see everything in the game. So we start during the eclipse. So Alien, you were the mod for this game, so what happened during Night Zero?
Yeah, so pretty standard Night Zero. Ally was the thief and chose Dockster over Townsperson, as everyone would and should. James's random check was actually on one of the prisoners. That didn't really end up mattering.
But it should be useful in general.
It should be useful. And then a bit of an unusual choice by Colin to make himself the proxy. He told us after the game it was something he was trying out. And generally, a lot of aliens don't make themselves the proxy, but if you're a high-profile player who gets targeted by the Mafia at night a lot, it might be an interesting strategy to try. It limits the number of options you have to get activated, but it can give you that survivability at night, which can be really useful again.
Yep, and Colin is a relatively high-profile player. Like, he got silenced twice this game, he got saxed the previous game as well. He got bumped the previous game. So if Colin is down, like, the Mafia are most likely gonna kill him. If Colin is alien, maybe again they're gonna go for him. We move on to day one, so the people wake up, it's revealed that Colin may not speak. And then something very peculiar happens, which is Fighter, who is one of the prisoners, literally comes into the game and starts piling on onto his fellow prisoner, 666, which we can see in the following Twitch clip.
I saw that coming.
Our neighbors.
Alright, Rich, you're the only Mimi person in
Wait, who is your neighbor, Fighter?
666. Which means we're killing 666 day one today.
Wait, who is it? Fighter and 666?
Yep.
Yeah, we're killing 666 day one today. We could talk about
Honestly,
it.
I'm okay with that, mostly because I never can get anything out of
Okay,
thing.
Fighter, how am I scummy?
Because I'm Vanilla Town, which means that you're either Town and oops are bad, or you're.
Whoops! Whoops!
Oh,
I dropped all my line!
I don't know. I'm just happy as shit to not be Mafia in this game because I haven't last.
Yeah, at any point in the game, actually, I'd rather do it here today or tomorrow.
Yeah, I would like to do this either today or
But, like,
tomorrow.
we, like, make our reads based on, like, what the fucking, like...
So what we see in this clip is really funny, because essentially Fighter comes in the day and does exactly what I did to 666 a couple of weeks ago, which is 666 is a criminally, like, defenseless person sometimes, and it's very easy to just say, okay, 666 is coming, like, literally you come in 10 seconds into the day and you're like, okay, like, I want to kill this person. So that's something I really am looking forward to 666 growing out of. That doesn't mean that, like, Fighter's move here was smart, which Logan points out towards the end of that clip, which is like, can we actually play this game and get some reads on people before we try to kill them, you know? But what did you make of that? Like, certainly, like, this is literally the most pivotal moment in the entire game, because without Fighters back in, 666 never gets killed yet.
Yeah, I mean, so I think most people, at least the way I see the meta playing out, is most people agree it's good for the prisoners to come out day one or day two, just early, so that you know who they are. But should you go all in and kill them? I think that's more circumstantial, and in this case, maybe, maybe the town could have waited to hear 666's defense, which they did, but then,
Yep.
maybe more time could have been spent getting those reads before going all in on it.
Yep, and especially because if you put pressure on somebody like this, like, you're just warping their behavior in a way that, like, is very unnatural.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people, like, neglected. In any case, we had 5 nominees that day, who is 666, James, Carson, Chad, and Colin, who spoke in that specific order, I believe. And during the defense, he gave Chad... so we're gonna hear parts of 666's defense, and then we're gonna hear parts of Chad's defense.
And firmly believe that I was Mafia, which I'm not. I'm also a VT. I'm willing to believe that he's also a VT, but from what he's done, he's slightly scummy. I've about a 2 in 3 chance. But the person I really want to talk about is Chad. Yeah, he seems willing to risk Mafia getting 2 KP. He might actually be going for it. I don't see any other reason Chad would nominate me. I don't want to lynch prisoners. I'm gonna vote Chad.
So 666 is done with his defense, and now we're gonna hear how Chad makes sure that he doesn't die here.
Okay, next up is Chad.
And just look at Colin's face here.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to start off by claiming cop.
Okay, so just listen how he says it. I'm gonna start off by claiming cop. You know? Like, he doesn't say I'm the cop. He doesn't say anything else. And then, like, here's what follows. Just look at Colin's face.
And I want to point out that my reads are pretty similar to what Carson has. And
Like 5 seconds in, no night 0. 10 seconds in, no night 0. 15 seconds in, no night 0.
The vote Colin.
And Colin eventually loses it. And like you can go back to the VOD and just look at Colin's reaction here. But Chad just comes in with the most insane, like, fake claim. Just to get his neck, like, safe and sound. And what do you make of this play? Like, was Chad in the wrong to just not, like, bite the bullet and die?
You know, it's selfish versus selfless play, right? I've definitely attempted a move like this beforehand, but usually you have to make sure that there's actually some compensation for the lie, or that you're alive long enough to clean up the mess that you create.
Well,
And
Chad was certainly alive for long enough after that, but...
Sure, but when I've fake claimed policeman on day one as a townsperson, which I've done, once in a blue moon, I come out with a read that I try to, like, say, I checked this person was Mafia. Granted, that was in a setup where you could actually check on night 0, but the point is that if you only claim policeman without even a read, then it's a very hollow claim that's probably going to cause more harm than good.
Yep. And in my opinion, Chad just killed 6. Like, voluntarily or involuntarily. In any case, 6 died. 6 was not Mafia. Fighter also died because they were prisoners together. And the Mafia got 2 kills that night. So that's how this setup works. When the town prisoners are executed, either one of them, then they both die and the Mafia gets 2 KP. So it really accelerates the game.
Yeah, and to his credit, Fighter did abstain here. As a way of trying to signal to the town that he didn't believe 6 was Mafia
But
anymore.
he abstained so late that, like,
Too little,
people
too
had
late.
already made up their minds.
Yeah.
We learn. Next up we have Night 1, which has, like, one of the coolest displays of this new widget we have.
Yeah, so a lot of the actions make total sense here. If you really believe Chad is the police officer, although
You disable
Shakespeare's
him.
pointing out why you may not have to believe that given how he did it, and give no information about the Night Zero, but Jump Ropes was the prostitute disabled Chad, makes sense. The Mafia targeted Chad and Alloy. So Alloy is, targeting Chad, makes sense, he's a police officer.
He said very
Targeting
little the
Alloy-
entire game, by the way.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Targeting Alloy, I mean, in retrospect, a very good move, because as the doctor, he's not getting extra information about who might be good, because he's one of the targets himself. And here I think there's another really critical decision of the game where Alloy chooses to sacrifice himself to save who he believes is the police officer. Pros and cons here, obviously. I think it does create the space for, mafias and aliens to take up the mantle of doctor later in the game, which is something we see. And it was unfortunate that, of course, Chad didn't turn out to be the real police officer, but I don't think we can really fault Alloy here for this decision.
I kind of disagree because you're targeted as well. And Chad's targeted. So between you and Chad is getting disabled, you aren't. So save yourself, come out, let Chad die, maybe. Like, it was very clear that Chad wasn't the real policeman. In my opinion, maybe he didn't know what the setup is, but not claiming a Night Zero green check on anyone is just indicative of the fact that you didn't get a raw message that said that you were the policeman. So if I was Alloy, I would have let Chad die. I would have also voted on Chad, like, for what it's worth.
Well, fair enough. Hindsight is 20/20, of course, but yes,
Sure.
you're right. The police claim was very suspicious, and then James did find a Mafia in Banks. So that sets us up nicely for the next day.
Yep. And Colin is just sitting lonely and unactivated.
Yes.
So they wake up, Alloy dies, Banks may not speak. Again, they wake up to 1 death, but no doctor came out and claimed. which was quite. It threw them off quite a bit, and it allowed for some pretty cool plays down the road. So now we're gonna hear how the real policeman James actually came out, and like very very quickly at the beginning of the day. This is how a real policeman comes out. Everybody should take note of how a real policeman comes out.
Should I get things going now?
Okay. Sorry, I gotta go. Don't worry, I'll let him know. Hey, Colin, I just got off the phone, and apparently they're gonna nominate you for a BAFTA. You're gonna get.
So we have the cool joke from Logan.
Listen up.
Before we do anything,
Supporting?
go ahead and tell us his,
Yes, I have some information. We should solve the game as town. I am the real cop. I did not counterclaim yesterday because I was unable to. I did not vote at Chad because I did not want to die. For that reason, I think Rich is extremely towny. He voted Chad. Tonight, I got Banks as Mafia.
Okay, Chad, what's your night zero check? And what's your night zero check, James?
My Nigeria with 666 is not Mafia, but I couldn't speak up because he was dying.
Chad.
So we like if you're ever looking for how to like police play 101, you come out, you start leading the town, right? That's just like basic special power play. I'm really fascinated by how James did this, because like essentially he could get counterclaim by Chad. He didn't check Chad, right? So that was quite well done. Also, like bonus points for Logan about his joke on Colin. He was obviously referring to one of Colin's defenses from the previous day. What were you thinking at that point? I mean, you obviously knew everything, but...
Yeah, I knew everything. I mean, I think Banks definitely did feel that he didn't have much agency in this day because he was axed. And,
sure.
You know,
and then we're gonna hear his defense in a second.
Right. Because it really did leave him no other options except to, you know, hard claim something in a defense. Also, you know, yeah, anyway, I think the defense tells it better than I can.
Yep, and now we're gonna hear Banks' defense. So if you notice here in the top right corner, it says that Banks was tongue-axed, one of his fellow Mafia axed him. And then we hear Banks' defense after he was nominated based on James's red check.
Do I just auto-die? Okay, so James is Mafia. I am actually the cop, and my green check was on Logan on night zero, is what I was told. I think that James knew... I don't know if he knew I was the cop, but he definitely knew that I was going to go after him today. His gameplay was awful.
So, again, this is the opposite of what you want to be doing when you're claiming cop. You want to claim as many checks as there have been opportunities to check. Maybe here and there you can say I was disabled, la-di-da-di-da, but you gotta say it, right? You can't just skip it over.
Omit it.
Yeah. So we have 3 cop checks, 3 cop claims so far, and 2 of them are very obviously fake, making the job of the real policeman just really easy. Although, like, again, in Banks' defense, it was his first game with us. So he'll obviously learn how the policeman works down the road. Anyway, Banks was the only nominee for that day. He was executed, and he was Mafia. At that point, it was clear that Banks was, like, could only be the regular Mafia or the prostitute because there was an axing the next day. So, like, very clearly, Jump Ropes disabled James, the Mafia targeted James, Screenplay axed Logan. It was very clear at that point that, like, Logan was gonna try to lead the town. The police officer couldn't check and the alien wasn't activated. So, we go into day 3. And what was interesting about this day, Alien?
Well, I think the you know, the focus of attention very quickly started turning onto people who hadn't talked much or hadn't been, you know, contributing reads much. And I think that includes, you know, Jump Rope and possibly a little bit DC and Screenplay. So I know there were points in time where, you know, all these people were sort of called out, especially during this day. And, you know, even though you've executed Town Line prisoners and even though you've suffered through the Mafia double kill, Town is not doing too badly. You know, I think they definitely have enough information to at least tie the game at this point if they can just follow through. So that's mainly what I got out of this game. This was, like, I think, a pretty well-played day by the town for correctly identifying Jump Ropes as one of the Mafia.
Well, they didn't do it alone because Carson, who was not the doctor, so Carson claimed doctor during day 3, but he nominated Jump Ropes instead of Logan like everybody else was insisting they do. Again,
Yes.
because Logan was axed. So Carson helped the town involuntarily to get their objective, but it only solidified him as the doctor in everybody's eyes.
Yeah, I mean, worth noting, so Colin fake claimed Doctor first, probably just testing the waters. Then Carson counterclaimed him, and it stuck, which, you know,
I mean, that's what you want to have happen,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So eventually it was Logan and Jim Probst who were nominated. Logan was nominated only because he was asked at that point, maybe to test if he was the doctor. And then Jim Probst was nominated just somewhat by accident, but it still happened. So now we're gonna hear like another great defense by Logan, who's just keeping cracking those jokes.
Never kill Carson, never kill Logan, unless Logan just absolutely shits the bed.
So here we hear Jim Probst just say like, I'm not killing anyone because I think everybody's down, which is Mafia-like
I feel
defense
like
usually.
at this point you should have some conviction.
Yeah, especially when you say don't kill the person who I'm nominated against. That's usually not
That's
how you
gonna come
stay
back to
alive.
you.
Yeah. And then Logan completely calls her out on it.
Wow, it's great to know that you'd love to have a chance to put it somewhere else because it doesn't matter. We're stuck with these two nominations, provided my understanding of the system is still working. Okay, so let's get this clear.
I love Logan.
Colin's a bad motherfucker. Let's review what Colin did.
So Logan understands that Colin's behavior is anti-town at this point. I'm just pausing for a second to show what's going on. Like, he calls him out on it, and then he calls out Jim Probst in the beginning.
Executed during the day, comes in, goes, I know how Six plays, it's obvious that he's scum, and was like obviously incorrect because if you've played a game with Six, you know that it's not that easy. He sets it the next day, like talks over everyone else, prevents anything from happening, loses Banks. Oh bother, that happened. And then at the end of this day, set it up so that we had a lot of people vote on me, but not so many is not the situation clear, so we're stuck with two bad nominations. Fuck that guy. Fuck screenplay. He's bad also. Screenplay.
So in one defense, Logan calls out Colin, who's not down. He calls out Jim Probst, who gave a non-defense, and he called out screenplay. So it shouldn't be a surprise that Jim Probst was executed. She was Mafia. At that point, no bomb has gone off, and the axe is still in the game, as they'll find out on the following morning.
Yep. So we go into
and Logan becomes something like a special townsperson because they target him again.
Yep. So we go into night 3. Mafia targets Logan. Screenplay axes Colin again. So at this point, if you think, maybe this is too much of a conclusion to draw, but if you believe that Colin's not town, but he's also getting axed by the Mafia lot, maybe something in the middle. He's just a sad, unactivated alien. Biding his time.
Keep patting that unactivated alien.
It's okay, Colin. It's okay.
Yep, so Logan in some way buys Carson more time because every day Carson doesn't die is like a huge question mark. But this town is not asking questions or taking names. They're just killing Chad this day. So, this day, Chad's, lies come back to haunt him. And I think before this video started, we concluded... What was it you said? That,
Yeah, it was a really back-and-forth game where Town had a lot of chances, but Town could never... Town's decisions early in the game came back to bite them, and that's specifically Chad's fake policeman claim, which you could never really get past because this is the day where people had enough.
Because it was anti-town behavior, right?
Right, and also Alloy's decision to save Chad over himself, which didn't lend Chad any credibility because there was no one.
And it allowed Carson to just get through the game unopposed.
So it created the space for a fake doctor claim, and it didn't allow the real doctor to say, "Hey, I saved Chad. He was targeted by the Mafia." Right, which would have maybe bought him some credibility he desperately needed at this point in the game.
Yep. In any case, Colin and Chad were nominated against each other, and we're just gonna hear a bit of Colin's defense, which was absolutely amazing.
Because voice, Colin loves it.
I really love this line. I'm not the ex, because I love my voice.
Right, Chad had no KP put on him night 1, and he's not the prostitute. We have this confirmed because, as Rich correctly deduced, Jump Ropes has to be prostitute, which means Chad is probably Mafia. However, he's probably the bomb. Us killing the bomb today, the bomb triggers on the medic, which is Carson. I die in night. They're down to 3 tomorrow. 1 gets axed. It's a tie for Mafia in town. It's not terrible, actually. Hitting the bomb today is not bad, actually, in that situation. I was going to say that was bad. Chad might be a good place to put your votes. I think screenplay's been underwhelming. DC stepped it up a little bit today. The fucking problem is I kind of read Chad Pound, even though he just said the scummiest thing, but he doesn't know the setup as well. So he genuinely could not realise that only putting 2 noms on me means that we can't make further nominations. That's really scummy if he knows the setup, but fudge.
So everybody should hear this, which is, if he knows the setup, then this makes no sense. And this is why we have the preseason, right? So that everybody can learn the setup. But even while excusing Chad, Colin is just very slowly driving the point forward that Chad's behavior doesn't make sense from a town's perspective. And he gets Chad killed here, I believe. Even through all of Chad's self-votes that actually decided his fate in the end.
And I think this is really the straw that breaks the camel's back at this point, because we go into night 4, the Mafia target Rich, screenplay axes, DC's vote. Again, Colin isn't activated, and then we go into, so we're heading into a day phase with a bomb and a hunter still alive. So, there's going to be some explosions, and they all arrive at once. So we wake up.
Rich dies.
Yep.
And let's see Rich's long contemplation about who to take out as the hunter.
Rich dies. Rich was not Mafia. Rich, who would you like to kill?
Thinking. Realizing.
Realizing Carson should be dead.
Yep. And here it...
Maybe 20 seconds.
Here it comes? Question mark? It's a long time to think.
It's fair.
But just look at everybody's faces.
See you later, Carson.
Yep.
Carson dies. Carson was Mafia.
And at this point, Mafia has auto, because if Carson bombs if Carson bombs Colin, then Screenplay couldn't have axed Colin again, because of how the axe works. So DC is the only possible axe person, and you can believe the Screenplay axed DC's vote. So the Mafia would have majority.
Everyone has to follow through optimally there. Like this, it's not worth overlooking this point that they could have tied if one of them had messed this up in some way, right? Without really thinking about who I should kill. So, the constraints of the game give you auto, but you have to recognize the auto for what it is and play the exact move at every point to actually capitalize on it. So,
yep, and you don't know that you're dying, so like
so
you have to figure it out on the spot.
I mean, I think both props to both Rich and of course the Carson here, but there's no way Rich could have known which Mafia was the bomb. I don't know if Screenplay was on Rich's radar, but he identified the fake Dr. Clan for what it is. And yes, the Mafia won, but I don't, at this point it's not Rich's fault. Right?
Yep, and the moment DC is axed, the game is over. We just terminated it there, and the Mafia won. Dude, so, like, the tail of this game for me, let me just switch the cameras a bit. The tail of this game for me is, like, the town has to either, like, rationalize their mistakes and move past them, or let their mistakes die. Like, they had a very good chance to get rid of, like, a big question mark in chat, and they didn't. That was Rob's choice. And past that, like, they didn't put enough pressure, it felt, on Screenplay. Like, it didn't feel that, like, even if Rich, like, got one of the Mafia there, it didn't feel like they could get anything more out of the game, So, like, Chad's execution really, like, throws the entire game off. It's not just the prisoners. Like, the prisoners are, like, the thing that kickstarts the entire thing. And maybe it's a mistake to kill them day one. But it's really, like, that really sore townsperson you take into the end game and who just holds you down in the end.
Right. Like, the first couple day phases give the Mafia this potential misexecution that they can just hold on to forever. And just, cash in on at the right time, at the point where you can't recover from it.
Yep, even if you're killing Mafia, like, you're still not killing that person, so, like, the Mafia's not gonna kill him for you. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's called mislynch bait, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, he was definitely held out as bait.
Yep.
And yeah.
In any case, this was the video for Preseason Game 2, for Season 2. We're gonna try to keep these coming after every day we play. If you have any recommendations for what we should do, you should come talk to us on Discord or, like, comment under this video.
Yep, we'd love to get your feedback. This is our first time doing this, so looking for opinions so that we can make these, snappier, more interesting, more entertaining.
Yep.
So let us know.
Yep.